I'd like to call this meeting to order. First thing we always do is pledge of allegiance. So, Director DeHart, are you good to go?
The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director DeHart. Well, again, we welcome everybody in the audience tonight. Again, I'm just going to remind everybody that when we have the business of this school district to do, it's a quiet meeting, and we just ask everybody to be respectful of that. That's our first job, is to help run the school district, and there'll be time for different things. So I'm going to review the agenda so everybody's aware of what we're doing. We will approve the minutes from the last two board meetings here shortly. And then there will be a public forum. So that's when we do our public comments, and people that are going to speak will come up to the microphone. Those who send in letters, Dr. Phillips will read those. Again, those people will have 2 minutes when they come up to speak, and they will be given about a 5 to 10 second warning there at the end of their time if they take that much time. Again, please allow those people to say what they're going to say. As a board, we do not respond to those. That's not the way it works. It's not a debate. We let the people have their say. As long as they're respectful, we continue through that process, and but we don't respond back to them, if that makes any sense. If there's anything that needs to be done, it would be through writing. After the public forum, we will have a consent agenda about new hires and resignations and a policy GBG. After that, our student representatives have a chore tonight to do. Lucia is here, Moira will be here in a little bit, and so that'll be exciting, and they're going to do great. Then after that, we'll have board and superintendent comments, we'll have reports and presentations, policy updates, transportation updates, financial updates. And then after that, we'll have board and superintendent comments. After that, we'll have future agenda items so everybody knows what's going on. The next board meeting will be on 1/24 of January. That will be a good one. It's a work session. It's not a regular meeting, so there won't be public comments at that, but there will be presentations from 3 of our middle schools. We'll also be talking about fees, the new courses at Newbridge High School at that next board meeting. There'll also be another transportation update. It's an ongoing update. So that's our agenda. So the first thing we're going to do right now, we're going to get into the approval of the minutes from the last board meetings, 12/13 and 12/27.
Mr. Chair, I have a minor correction to the minutes for 12/27, and that is it with me as leading the board in the pledge of allegiance. I do believe that was corrected. Credit where credit's.
Okay, that change will be made. Thanks, Director Shannon. Okay, so I just need a approval of those minutes right there.
I move for the approval of the minutes from December 13th as presented, and from December 27th with the amendment of the item number 2. So as corrected for the second one.
Right, there's that. Motion and a second. All those in favor of that, please raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. Again, just way out in the audience a little bit. Some of the stuff's real exciting, so just a little more business you got to do. So I know it's not really fun. But at this time, we're going to do our public comments, and our first person that's going to come up is we have Billy. I hope I said it right. Lair. Might say it right. So Billy, you're welcome.
Hello, my name is Billy Lair, and I have 2 high school sons. My husband and I have strived in teaching our kids to accept anybody and everybody the way they are. As Christians, it is not our place to judge anybody else, rather than love like Christ loved and pray. I know there are many different walks of life in relation to beliefs, faith, personal lives, careers, etc. We have people in our family and friends of circles that are of all different paths. We've never judged or alienated them. We pray for everyone to come to the life that God has called them for. My sons have attended an outside school for most of their academic career. They have, I'm nervous, sorry. Never had an ill thought in their body about being different until entering the public school system as high schoolers. They didn't see color before. They didn't see different. They had Hispanics, Black, different ethnic families, families with different children who were different in their learning abilities. There was even physical disabilities, but guess what? They learned together, they played together, they did projects together. There was no difference. It was never a focus brought to their forefront of their minds that different had to be identified as different. Since coming to the high school, they see and feel difference. My junior son eats lunch in his car because he doesn't want to be subjected to the stuff of high school. Our children's education has suffered the last 3 years due to COVID. A lot has changed and a lot has suffered. With that, the challenges beyond the capabilities that our children are dealing with, they are catching up. Our teachers, the adults, parents that are part of these kids' lives, trying to figure out how to help them catch up. The kids should be our sole focus, but it's not. The school board members have had to navigate and deal with all of the political stuff that they've had to, and it's gotten out of hand. Our school is nationally and worldwide known for things that we have to overcome. Our board and educators should be able to focus on ensuring academics, reading, writing, arithmetic are met. Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you all for all you do.
It is hard to get up into a microphone and talk to everybody, so I appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much. Next person up will be Brandon Casey.
I guess first, I mean, what I want to talk about is this all the stuff from the so-called Oregon Department of Education that's come down in regards to all this, propaganda that they're pushing on teachers, try to push on kids. I mean, first of all, I'd like to thank the board, the superintendent for being transparent about that, letting us know what's going on. You said you would do that, and you did, and I appreciate that. I mean, secondly, I mean, just the fact that this is something like, sexual identity and gender and sex, and the fact that they want to put that on kids in elementary school is unbelievable to me. These kids don't know what any of that stuff is. They have no idea. They think boys are gross and girls are gross, and that's as far as it goes. So this can't be anything other than to indoctrinate these kids, strip away their identity. That's what the left and that's what these people want, is strip away all their identity. And I won't stand for it. I hope you guys won't stand for it. I hope there's something that we can do to mitigate this. Because I spoke to somebody in law enforcement before. If I go out in the street and I go find some kid in 2nd grade without the parents' consent, and I start talking to them about sexual gender, there's likely going to be a police investigation, and there should be. So why would we allow that in the classroom? Right? The parents haven't given consent for this. We don't want our kids we want our kids to be taught math, arithmetic, reading, history. That's it. Nothing else. That's what we want. I mean, that's what kids come to school to do. I mean, they don't come to school for the rest of this stuff. You guys have pushed back on this. I greatly appreciate it. I support every one of you and have supported you. Will continue to support you. I just somebody's got to do something about this. This is not. I mean, if somebody in elementary school knows anything about this, and those parents need to take a real step back and look at what's going on, because I have kids. I'm going to have 3 kids in elementary school next year. Okay. Well, anyways, thank you very much for all you guys do. We appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Our third speaker is going to be Rebecca Wallace.
Mix this around a few times. Okay. I am exasperated and disappointed by how some people in the community are towards the district that is picking up the broken pieces of the last administration. 3 years ago, we had failing special education. We had failing grades and students at horrendous proficiency levels before COVID set in. We had marginalized students, Hispanic in particular, that had science proficiencies under 15% before COVID. The good things the district has accomplished since the last administration and what they are continuing to improve on for what is broken is being minimized by the constant negative feedback from those that are upset over the release of the last superintendent and the abandonment from our district of the many teachers and staff that used to work here. Those naysayers are not asking, how can I help? What can be done to help the process of making the district better? They're just creating more problems and bullying those trying to fix the issues that were not good before Dr. Phillips got here. I know my opinion doesn't match them, but the direction the district is headed in correlates with the fact the district is doing much better than it was 2 and 3 years ago. 2 years ago, we had teachers and staff that were doxing board members, legit calling their work and attempting and succeeding to get them fired. We had teachers and staff calling wineries to get a board member's products taken off their walls. We had some board members encouraging teachers and staff to do this. If anyone wants the proof, send me an email and I will provide it. The superintendent did nothing about the doxing the staff was doing and the complaints went unanswered. I know this because I did a public records request and got 60,000 emails sent to me, along with all of it was unredacted and attorney-client privileged information. I have a lot of information that people can learn the real truth about what's been happening in the district over the last few years, and that was in the past administration. It was not the current one. Recently, we had some local elected officials that received death threats in relation to their work with the elected office. Did you know that NPS board members received death threats as well over the last couple of years? Many people are calling on others to denounce this sort of behavior, and it's a very scary experience to receive death threats. No one denounced it back when the NPS board members were getting them. They justified it because they chalked it to justice for passing the PPG policy.
Exactly.
Thanks, Rebecca. I just want to remind the audience again, it is kind of awkward that you would think somebody would come up and say something for the board, good or bad, and then we don't respond, but that's just the policy and the way we do it. So I hope everybody understands that. So we have some letters by Dr. Phillips from the public.
Okay, I have 6 of them. This first one had a link to it, to an article, so obviously I won't read the article. But this is from Julia Howard. She references an article involving someone by the name of January Littlejohn. So basically, after the article, it says Littlejohn's call to action is for parents to get comfortable having conversations related to gender. She notes it is important to do research and be informed and to understand that it is not transphobic to ask questions. The Littlejohns recently filed a federal lawsuit against the Leon County School Board. Ms. Littlejohn says it is ultimately about protecting the rights of parents to raise their child without the interference of government officials. The government has no right talking to children about gender or even sex. This should be the responsibility of parents. Would you, as a parent, allow a 16-year-old to make a decision on surgery they have been very misinformed about without your knowledge? Schools do not have counselors that are qualified to inform students about gender, let alone evaluate them. This should be done by a licensed doctor. You, as school board members and superintendent, have a responsibility to stop this. As you can see above, parents are seeking lawyers to file lawsuits against school boards on this topic. Thank you, Julia Howard. Okay, next one, Christina Layton. I view the LGBTQIAS+ support in Newburgh School presentation, and I oppose this type of indoctrination and intend to keep parents in the dark about their children's sexual identity. Our students can't get assignments graded when they are turned in. As parents, we have to fight to get them graded, but the teachers are off attending meetings for this crap. Teachers' time should be spent on teaching and grading, not indoctrination. Christina Layton. This is from Diane Pine. It is my belief that the schools teach reading, math, science, social studies, language, some life skills, shop, sewing, and cooking, how to keep yourself safe, how to respect each other. But when it comes to matters that are best left to families and healthcare, whether mental or physical, I believe the school should share their concern with parents or child services or police if it is life-threatening. The schools are not equipped to deal with the minds of why a student may be trying to find a different path. Some may be abused, neglected, have trauma, PTSD, feel alone, drug use, and more going on you can't see or the student can't understand themselves. Teach the things that students need to know as a student. Do not treat a student with the limited knowledge you have as a teacher. Triage would be a better way to look at it. See something, say something to a parent, grandparent, children's services, police. Create a list of mental health doctors and counselors who work with children to meet with pediatricians, counselors, children's services, who work with their students. Ask them to help you put together a guide for parents or grandparents. Get help the student away from the school in the home or a professional. This kind of interference teaching the young it's okay with the woke ideas is dangerous for young minds who are impressionable. Because a person who does not know the whole picture is doing more harm than good. Treating everyone with respect, kindness, and having responsibility for your actions is a better goal for everyone.
Thank you, Diane Pine. Okay, this is Terry Zahn. To Dr. Phillips and the Newburgh School Board members. As a lifetime resident, I am thankful to have the opportunity to share my views with those in leadership and decision-making within the school district. I want to express gratitude to Dr. Phillips and the board for your continued work to make needed changes within our school district. Thank you for ensuring our children are safe and the focus would be on education and preparing children for a world filled with challenge and controversy, including diversity and inclusion. Last Tuesday, I received a copy of the Equity and Inclusion Staff Training with a focus on LGBTQ2SI+. My understanding is that ODE required this training and that it was developed by NPS staff members. In reading through the training material provided, the presentation was extremely slanted towards indoctrinating our children and breaking down established moral values. There was little included regarding teaching children to be respectful of differences. My greatest concern was the statement made on page 14 regarding non-disclosure of children's personal information, including their identity to parents or guardians. Parents and or guardians are in charge of overseeing their children's well-being. It is called loving them, not authorized school personnel. My understanding is that this statement did not align with ORS 659.850, and changes will be made to this stated practice within the district. A second concern with the presentation material was integrating more LGBTQ to SIA+ into the daily curriculum and strategies throughout the classrooms. Again, the curriculum should not be slanted or altered in this way. Thank you again for the opportunity to give input regarding this staff training and the actions that were to follow within the classrooms. Terry. Okay, next one from Bob Youngman. Dr. Phillips, remember that in your position, you are required and being paid to follow the actions and resolutions by the school board. You are required to lead both by example and administrative action, the affectation and perpetration of the actions and resolutions of the board throughout and within the Newburgh school districts. Experience as a local parent and former director of the NSD physical plant indicate that our young people will continue to receive the values of God, family, and country by you following the actions and dictates of the board. Bob Youngman. I believe this one is by Mr. Kloss.
I'm actually here.
Oh.
I have some modified remarks because that was written before I received your clarification letter. So I've got my written remarks right here. So.
Okay.
Is it okay to give those?
Yep, you ready to go?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the board for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to address some concerns I have over the recent LGBTQ training mandated by ODE that was distributed to parents. After having read Superintendent Phillips' clarification letter, I still have some questions and concerns. In his letter, Dr. Phillips attempted to reassure parents and guardians that there is no official policy that states the district is to withhold information pertaining to a parent's children, except when to do so would put the student in danger. However, the material sent out specifically encourages staff to do precisely that. So apparently, either the material was not properly written to match official district policy or wasn't proofread before being distributed. So which was it? My concern regarding the former is this: Newburgh schools have in the past had staff exhibit blatant defiance of board policy and outright contempt for parents, as evidenced by the infamous and highly offensive TikTok video recorded by 2 middle school counselors. To the best of my knowledge, the staff members in question are still employed by the district. What is to prevent them or other staff from covertly subverting official district policy regarding parental notification? Another issue not addressed in Superintendent Phillips's letter is the issue of students using the restroom or locker room facilities of their chosen gender as opposed to that of their biological sex at birth. I believe the people of this community deserve full clarification on that. In closing, I would like to thank Superintendent Phillips for his attempt to clarify the district's position regarding the ODE training material. However, given the history of certain staff members in this district, I hope that he and you can understand my skepticism and desire for genuine transparency. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of our comments right there. Again, you know, we don't respond to those directly, so we appreciate everybody having the courage to get up there and talk. Obviously, you know, tough subjects to handle. So it's not like everybody's not listening, but I think sometimes talking less and listening more might be a good thing in today's day and age. So with that said, we're going to move on to consent agenda. So board, we are right there. The first one I'm going to read for you guys is the accepted probationary teacher contracts of Melinda Newell, teacher at Newburgh High School, Elizabeth Likens, school psychologist, Newburgh School District, and for Donald Angelico, teacher at Edwards Elementary School. Donald is a former Newburgh High School student, played for me in basketball. I really wanted to read this because he was super excited about coming to Newburgh to teach. And so welcome to all three of those. And there's also to the rescind of policy GBG effective immediately for policy committee. So I recommend a motion and a second.
I move, excuse me, that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor are.
I just got one comment on section 6. You got Scott Weinberger under policy GBG. Were you going to say something, Scott, on that before we vote on?
No, I think the chair pretty well covered it with that policy. This went before the court system here in the state. And so we had the opportunity, whether we wanted to amend policy GBG as a board or whether we wanted to rescind it. And so the recommendation before you is that we rescind the policy outright. Also enclosed in your packet is also documentation from the OSBA webpage, which shows that it's no longer on our website, but we just need board action on this piece.
Makes sense. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we are up to student representatives. Lucy is over there going, where is my partner? She's not here. So you're going to do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on.
All right. Just 1 second. So I guess, Dr. Phillips asked me and Moya to kind of come up with some ideas on how to encourage participation and effort in these standardized testings. And so what we did, we went around the school and we were asking teachers, students. We did Google surveys in all of our classes and had our teachers put them up. So we got a very, very varied answer on some ideas on how we could encourage performance on standardized testing. So one of our main ideas is incentives. I think almost everyone responds really well to incentives. So that was an idea where you could get recognized for having good scores. All of our students, everyone said that they would love food. So some kind of a pizza party, ice cream party, I don't know. She said people were talking about class raffles. I'm not sure. I mean, Moy and I collaborated on this, so I'm kind of doing both of our parts here. But these class raffles where there's winners in each grades for gift cards, and that's just on performance. I think it could also work with improvement too, from like how they went up from last year, because it could be a little bit unfair just like on performance, but improvement I think is really important, just everyone trying the best that they can. We were thinking about having teachers and how they could prepare students better for these tests, kind of giving us walkthroughs on how to be successful, how like test taking tips, strategies, kind of what to expect on these tests. And then also talking about why these tests are important, because I don't even know if a lot of teachers know, because when you ask, they just said, you just take the test. And so I think if they understood the importance and explain that to the students, it could encourage them to try, because right now the general like consensus is that they don't really matter and there's no like real reason to try on them, which isn't the truth. And so just being more educated on that, I think would be important. I think that making a comfortable testing environment for all of the students could also make a big difference. Sitting on your desk for an hour staring at a screen is not very optimal for anybody. And so things like breaks, just a more comfortable environment, snacks, those kinds of things can really encourage better performance and attention span and just those kinds of things, because you're getting a break. And then we were also thinking that in addition to this, teachers talking about why it's important to kind of have students, because, you have your teachers and your teachers tell you to do stuff all the time and, you don't always want to do it. But having students maybe in an assembly video or just like a video, some students from every little group kind of talking, like telling us like, guys, we should try on these tests and this is why, and we'll get these rewards, and everyone should just give their best effort. And I think it coming from, your peers instead of like your teachers is a good way to get positive feedback and reaction. And yeah, that's really what we had for you guys.
Okay, board, do you have any questions there about any of that? Go ahead and fire away.
I will. I love the ideas, Lucia. I think
Awesome.
these are great ideas. And I'm sure that there are many people who would like to support in, this promotion of, a celebration or something like that. I have some things cooking in my mind as I'm talking. One thing that I will say that kind of resonated with me about, the test environment. The reality is that when you go do a test, and I have done tests, for TOEFL, for English, or for sort of professional certifications, the reality is that the environment is sterile. You're in front of a computer, you can't bring water, you can't, you have to be in front of that computer for that 2 hours or whatnot. So while I think it'd be great to, have a practice with, a relaxed environment, I think that in the real life, the test centers, they are in a way like you can't bring food, you can't bring snacks. So I don't know, and I think it's a conversation that we can have with teachers and the students to see, do we want to, train both ways so that you're prepared for both. So I think but I think you guys did great.
Awesome.
Any more questions? Fire away.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Lucia. I wish Moira was here. I'll pass on my thanks to her when I see her next. But no, I think that this is good. I appreciate you guys taking the time to engage teachers and students and get more input on this. I would say, Dr. Phillips, what's your take on this? What's the timeline? Is standardized testing, what does that look like? And, you know, what's possible? Can we get some friendly competition going, maybe between schools or? What does that
Yeah,
look like?
I think your ideas are great. Thank you. And yeah, we've got time. The testing window is usually late April and May. It can be pushed into even June, and I like to push it longer. It gives teachers and students more time to prepare. Yeah, we've got time to do something. We've got time to roll it out right. I really like the ideas of practice testing. I kind of see it as in a sports analogy. You want a scrimmage. You want to get close to the real feel as you can. And so a practice test would be a good scrimmage. And then a good teacher would look at those results and reteach to prepare for the big one. We can do pretty much all those things. I think they're great ideas. So I'll circle back with you
Awesome. Okay.
and any other students that want to participate, and we'll start putting something together. This would be
Perfect.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're not done. I got a question. So did you talk to Principal Iron about this too?
We did not talk, or I didn't, and Moya didn't say anything about talking to her, so I don't think so, no. Because we just wanted to bounce them off of you guys first, see what you guys liked, and then bring those ideas to Miss Arian to be implemented.
No, it's good because she can make stuff happen there. So
Mhm.
yeah, she'll just tell people what's up. So, okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for that. I was just going to tell the audience too, on the board that, like Moya's not here. Oh, look who just walked through the door.
Just ran up the stairs.
I just presented everything. Oh, sorry, I did not.
Did you win?
No.
No.
But it was a good fight.
Well, I'm going to brag about you for a second and then you're going to have to talk here because we're going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I just want to tell everybody that like Moya just got back. She's playing basketball all night. She's on a basketball team. Being a former basketball coach, it's a lot of work. Lucia plays too. She played lacrosse. They both play lacrosse. And then they come to a school board meeting and do all this. And you guys think you're working hard. So they're putting a lot of effort in. So we hopefully, as we move back towards education, we get more and more students working as hard as these two young ladies. So tell them thank you when we're done. They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
So Moya, do you have anything to maybe add to any of your own words to what was said there?
Not all of it, but just we could try to go over if you have like special things that you really want to talk about more.
Oh, okay. Holy moly.
You want a break here? We can give you a break.
Wait, but you went over the.
I went over it all, but I think
Will you pull
have-
that up then?
Yeah.
Or wait.
Yeah.
This thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, did you talk about this all? Like who should like inform students?
I kind of did, but you could probably say
Okay.
it again too.
Okay, so we were talking a little bit about obviously maybe incentivizing students or trying to motivate students in a different way. We sent out a Google form to a lot of students. We made a QR code that got posted at the basketball game. Kids scanned it, add feedback. I got my whole basketball team to do it. I got the entire boys basketball team to do it. I got a whole bunch of different kids in one of my classes that has a lot of different groups of kids to do that. And they have they pretty much had no idea that we get grants and funds for test scores. I'm pretty sure that's correct, right? Right, we get grants and funds for test scores. That's a question. Or it helps us. It helps us. And so I think we should, this could be something we do as student reps, but also there's a lot of other kids in our communities or in at least in our high school that kids look up to a lot. So you've got people like Hudson Davis, he's a state champ, a world champ too. He's an very athletic kid, and a lot of people look up to him. You've got a lot of kids like that at Newburgh High School. You've got state champs, national champs that are cheerleaders as well.
you've got all these other kids that are like the head of clubs. You have Haley Batrick, head of ASB. She is part of Theater 2 and all this other stuff. And so you have all these like diverse, like different groups of kids that people look up to. So maybe if we like made a video to show like, oh, why is trying on the test like per se like cool, or like, hey, this is why you should try on the test because it helps us in the long run, like get other kids, because like think like if I had a teacher telling me like, hey, go try hard on the test, like I'd be like, well, like, who are you? Like, yes, you're my teacher, but like what? But if I like I don't know, that's what I thought as a little kid.
One,
really on here.
you know, one group that I think that we could really tap into is Honor Society.
Yeah.
I mean, Honor Society, they're Honor Society because they're supposed to be our best and brightest. You would think that they would take it serious. So I would encourage whoever the Honor Society advisor is, you've got a group of kids, and I think competition's healthy. I mean, it'd be kind of fun. It's in the spring. It'd be kind of fun to have who's smarter, the baseball team or the softball team, the girls track team or the boys track team. I think things like that are fun and they're healthy, and as long as they're handled appropriately. But yeah, this is encouraging. I'm glad you guys are running with this. So we'll work on it.
And after we can talk with you a little bit more, and then we'll talk with Miss Arian too, and we'll get like a concrete plan put into place.
Yeah, and just in case anybody hasn't seen it, these two young ladies were in our video, I think released about a week ago, and it's getting tons of hits online. So good job. Have you got an agent yet?
Working on it.
Working on it. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good one.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Dr. Phillips, that'd be the tennis team. Would be, no, that one. So I just wanted to-
Okay. That's right.
Also, just for fun too, you guys do not want to be in a box out situation on the basketball court with Moya, because I've seen her play twice this month and she flat out plays hard. So it's fun to watch you guys. So thank you very much for that. We're going to move on to our next section here. It's reports, presentations, and discussion items. And our first one's going to be Head of HR, Scott Lindbergh, is going to do our policy update.
So I'm on the policy update committee with Director Shannon, Director DeHart, and Director Powell. So if any of you directors want to speak up, feel free to do so at any time. So we, as a school district and the school districts throughout the state of Oregon, receive quarterly updates from OSBA, and they are running behind, and we have not received a quarterly update statewide from OSBA. So taking a look at our policies, I selected a handful of policies to bring to the board anyway that are updated. I contacted OSBA to seek their guidance out. And so we bring those policies before the committee. And so what you're seeing right now is the committee work in front of you. This is not a quarterly update. These are just some policies that are in need of updating. And so you have those before you right now. We have made the recommendations or corrections, and this is a recommendation for you as a board between now and the next board meeting. If you have issues or concerns about the policies that are before you, just let one of us know. And if we need to meet or reconvene or make some edits, adjustments, changes, deletions, any of the above, all the above, none of the above, just go ahead and let us know. So right now, this is for your perusal, for you to review. And if you again, questions, comments, concerns, please let me know, or one of the other members on the committee. And so this is the first reading for you. And then at the next board meeting, if everything stays the same and nothing changes, then it will be brought before you for a second reading and for approval at that time.
Anybody in that policy committee have any comments? No, good. Scott, could you just kind of remind everybody what first, second reading is?
Well, it is a recommended practice by OSBA that whenever you're doing a policy update, that you do a first reading. And so that is to give board members the opportunity to review and to look at those policies. We, by law or by statute, do not have to do a first and second reading process, but instead of just pushing policies in through you tonight, you may have not had a chance to look at this ahead of time and you just, okay, let's and move on. This is to give you some thoughtful time to review. You also don't have to approve after a second reading too. There still may be some questions or concerns about that. And so there are some policies that are controversial that I've sat through where they've been through 4 or 5 readings in my past life as a superintendent. So these policies here, I don't anticipate a 4th or 5th review, but boards have surprised me before too. So I could stand corrected on this.
Thank you very much. No further comments. We're going to move on to transportation, and Dr. Phillips is going to comment there.
Okay, on December 27th, we issued an RFP for a new busing contractor for a 5-year period starting this fall, July 1, for 5 years. And so, as I said, we issued the RFP on the 27th. Yesterday on the 9th, we had a pre-proposal conference. So what that is anybody who has an intention of putting in a proposal, they must be at this meeting. We had 3 companies show up yesterday for the conference. There's no guarantee that all 3 of them will submit a contract, but we will get no more than 3 because they had to be there to submit. They are due at noon on January 26th. At that point, we will look over the proposals, put a committee together, and then plan on interviewing on January 31st. My question for the board is we would like 1 board member to participate in the screening of those and the interview process. So are there any volunteers, or if the chair wants to appoint or however it works, it's up to you guys, but we would love it if there was 1 board member on that committee.
You want 1 or 2, or what do you want?
So in the RFP, it states that they need to provide 6 hard copies. And so we're just trying to keep it to 6. We could have more if you want. We could make an extra copy, but we were planning on 6, and the board would represent 1/6.
I'd be happy to do that.
Dr. Art, you're good on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So
Thank you.
we'll get you however many proposals we'll have. We'll get them to you on the 26th. And then once again, the interviews will take place on the 31st. And according to the documents that we sent out, we plan on making most likely making it public who the successful contractor is by February 2nd. So it'll be a fairly quick process. February 3rd? Okay, 3rd. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Director Hart, for doing that. We're going to move on to financial report from Heather Bixby.
In your board packet is your monthly financial reports. This is through the end of December. So we always run those for the month prior. Not much changed in the month of December. But, I think expenditures was first, but not much has changed since last month's, December being a short month. Pretty much all we had is payroll, and you won't see a lot of change in the payroll expenditures because they're already encumbered for the entire year. So unless we have a major change in personnel, we wouldn't see any changes in the expenditure reports in personnel or benefits. That there's nothing that stands out to me as being concerning at this point. I anticipate that we will have a beginning fund balance to work with for the budget this coming year. So, which is a plus. So, yeah, I happy to answer any questions, but it's pretty straightforward.
I have some questions. I would say several of us were concerned at the beginning of the year that we were not going to end up on budget. Now it looks like we're going to even have a surplus. And so some of us talked to you, Heather, about some of your strategies and what you've implemented. For example, requiring PO numbers for people to do purchases, very simple. Using software instead of spreadsheet software that we already own for more transparency and to be a lot more efficient. Direct discussions with principals to determine what their requirements are and not just allocating. And that's something that's new that you brought into this. There's other ones I could go down, but did I leave anything out, you guys? I mean, I was just, I couldn't believe what you've had to do and what you have done and how far you've brought us. And so much thanks, but I'm feeling so much better now.
Well, I think that the current administration has been phenomenal to guide in prudent public spending. And so instead of being careless in how money is spent
Yes.
and just thinking that it is an open door to spend all the money that we get, people have adjusted really well to me telling people no. They've adjusted well to me implementing policies on what is acceptable for certain grants, for student body funds. I mean, there's a whole gamut of things that I have to oversee to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible. And everybody here, from the superintendent, the board, all the way down to the teachers and the aides and kitchen help and custodians, and they have all been wonderful about, okay, here's all these changes, because when somebody new comes in and you come in, the first thing you do is say, okay, we're not doing this spending now and get it approved later. You're going to get it approved first. But this is why we're doing it. We're not just, doing it to be mean. There's rules and guidelines that we have to follow and we have to be accountable for. And so I think when people understand that those guidelines are out there for us and those rules are out there for us, they appreciate having a little guidance. And so current administration, myself included, don't have any problem guiding them to be more fiscally responsible.
Great. Thank you.
Any other
Yes.
questions for Heather?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just really appreciate the communication that you're doing with all the staff and everybody. I think that's just great, having that open communication. So thank you for all your work.
Yeah, I'll just, a little clarification on kind of what little bits and pieces of the conversation. So a while back, just to educate myself more on the budget and the inner workings of it and how it's reported out, I asked Heather if I could come in and meet with her. And to make it more efficient at the time, I asked two other board members, and that happened to be Director Cole and Director Powell. So we sat down with her, and she was kind enough to spend time with us, really educating us on where we're at with the budget this year, how it's progressing, how she sees things playing out through the rest of the year, how to really read the income and expenditures. But she really took the time to compare and contrast how things were done and how she's doing them now. And the previous business administrator, finance director, just kind of set out the budget. Individual schools and administrators weren't included in that. And she's reached out and included those. And it really surprised me. I was involved in the military and kind of the budget cycle from a peripheral standpoint. So it just made sense to me that as you reach the end of the fiscal year, you started rolling up budgets further and further up, consolidated unused funds, and then setting the budget for the next fiscal year. And that's something that Heather's doing, right? She's getting input from the people that are affected by the budget. And I just applaud her on that. And to really making sure that we have processes in place, best known practices, and holding people accountable. And that's always hard when you haven't been held accountable or haven't been held to a higher standard and processes, those best known methods. And she's doing that, and it's being received well, and it's going to make, we're going to have an excess, it sounds like, going into next year. And I just applaud you, Heather, for the great work that you're doing, and keep up the good work. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Hart. Heather,
Heather, as
Go ahead.
someone who comes from a government background that didn't have quite the same fiscal responsibility, like a $30 million loss on a computer program, it's really nice to hear. Where I worked, June was panic time because people had not spent all their money and they wouldn't get it back. And it is wonderful to hear people say, no, we're not going to spend that. We can not spend, it'd be okay. Taxpayers probably like it. So much appreciation.
Heather, could you just remind us kind of like what our total budget is, just like when we start the year?
Last year's budget was $261 million, almost $262 million. So, and I would like to clarify, when I say that it looks like we're going to have some money to start next year, there are roll-up costs next year. So having that extra money will help absorb some of those roll-up costs and inflation, things like that. So it's not like we're going to have this huge savings account in next year's budget, but we won't be starting out looking at, okay, what do we have to get rid of now? Because to adjust for inflation and roll-up costs, we don't have enough money. And I think we're going to be in a good spot to absorb some of those roll-up costs and inflation, because people do understand that concept now of you don't have to spend every penny that you had in your budget, that's not the intent. And if we all did that, then there wouldn't be any money, and we'd
So-
be cutting teachers and staff.
So just to clarify, I know that we have a policy that we need to have a start budget, that we have a percentage that needs to be there. So what you're telling me, if I understand correctly, we are going to meet that policy number plus a little bit. So we're not going to be right at the edge. Well, that's great. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Phillips has hired a lot of good people, but he probably didn't do any better he did with Heather. So we'll leave it at that. So thank you very much for the great work. We'll move on into board comments and superintendent comments. So Director Shannon, you're up first.
I first want to thank everyone who showed up tonight and wrote in to speak up about their concerns about what's being pushed out of ODE. Unfortunately, ODE is simply run through with ideologues, radical ideologues who are absolutely intent on pushing this sort of garbage down our kids' throats. And so parents have to stay vigilant, and the school board has to be a bulwark against that. And that's why I think a focus of the remainder of this session should be on passing a parental bill of rights in our district and putting that in our policy. Thank you.
Director DeHart.
Yeah. I will say that it's nice to see the passion in our community and the attention on our districts. It's obvious that a lot of people are concerned about what's going on, what's being taught. I would say that I'm sure that every one of our board members had the same concern. I like to see that. I would also say, my son who's and my youngest daughter who's in the school district, my son came home today and was complaining that one of the teachers was pushing his political views. And he was kind of upset about that. And he had some different ideas on what he should do about it, and we kind of tempered that. He was pretty upset at the time and passionate. But I will say this, you know, from a parent standpoint, we talk to our kids on what our beliefs are. We instill those beliefs in our kids, and you know, he recognizes truth from falsities and from political bents from individuals, and certainly, you know, our students are there to learn. And you've heard people come up and speak tonight that, and I'll echo it. Our schools are there to teach, and you know, given where we're at on our performance, you know, I think the district and the hiring that we've had is moving in the right direction, but it's not going to happen overnight. But I would just encourage those teachers, those professionals, to focus on the curriculum and teaching what's right, what our kids need to know to be successful as they enter the real world out there. You know, and there's different philosophies out there, I guess. You know, from my philosophy, I've said it before, that it's important that our kids have resiliency. I think we have an opportunity in our classrooms and our schools to teach resiliency, to teach confidence, to provide those opportunities to build those things that those kids are going to need out in the real world. And so, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, but I commend all of our teachers and staff that are doing the right thing and moving our kids in the right direction. I would just, you know, it's not going to get healthy overnight, but we're moving in the right direction. And I know sometimes we have setbacks, and I would just encourage people to get involved. Tomorrow will be my first day at Dundee Elementary, reading to the kids from 11 to 11:30. I'm looking forward to that. So instead of complaining, get involved, do the right thing, get involved in our schools and make a difference. All right, thanks.
I think everybody noticed we're already in budget cuts, Heather, because we got one microphone for Director Shannon DeHart. So we're trying to, more comments.
Another example of fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, actually, even though I've used up my allotment of words, finally get a chance to meet with the PTO at Mountain View. I keep wanting to call it Springbrook from past days. We've had two chances to do it, and both of them got postponed either by the school or by me. So chance to give them construction updates and then hear what they have to say. So that'll be interesting. Hope I remember the layout of the school. It's been a few years.
Yeah. Thanks, Director Riley. Director Powell.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone also for coming and voicing your concerns. And what I'm going to be doing is reading a email that came in. I did have to shorten it some because it was pretty lengthy, but I think you get the gist of it. So, to whom it may concern, I have taken the time to read the recent email in regards to the teachers' new training. I am aware that you are asking them to change who they are as teachers for the few. You are asking them to give up their beliefs, thoughts, ways, so few students are accepted. I have a student in Newburgh High School, and due to some changes in your rules at that school, my student feels unsafe and her emotional safety is at risk with young men coming into the girls' locker room. It looks like your eyes are turned off the truth. I know my daughter does not feel comfortable with the counselors at Newburgh High School because of the thought of them asking her about gender identity and her speaking the truth. And her response will be seen as wrong, evil, or hatred, even though it's true. My daughter is love, hope, joy to almost all who meet her. But because of her beliefs, lifestyle, and choices, she will be made an enemy, bully, mean in the eyes of her peers, teachers, and counselors. If my daughter is to remain in PE at Newburgh High School, she will need to be given a private bathroom or space to change into her clothes and ready herself for class. For emotional safety, this is a requirement. If you cannot give her privacy away from young men using the female locker room, then she will need to receive a passing grade, and she will not be taking PE for the remainder of this year. I also expect my daughter to be able to use a private bathroom if you are expecting her to share the girls' female restroom with a boy male. For her emotional safety, this is a requirement for her to feel safe. If you cannot do so, then I will be taking my daughter out of the Newburgh School District. I also have a son in Dundee Elementary, and for his emotional safety, he will need to use a private bathroom if girls are allowed to go into the boys' bathroom. If your choice is to allow boys to be exposed to girls and girls exposed to boys, then my son will need to have a private bathroom at your school at all times. If you cannot provide a private bathroom for his emotional safety, then he will no longer be going to the public schools in the Newburgh School District. I'm sure you did not know the fullness of the training on Tuesday, but you do now. I hope you find a real solution to what is going on at our schools. Please stand up for the many now being forgotten because of the few. I want all to feel loved, known, and cared for, but these choices are not the solution. I expect a response to this email immediately. I need to be able to share with my kids that they will be safe in their school and they will not be exposed to the opposite sex in any way at any time in the restrooms or PE changing room. I am choosing to stand for all the other children in our school district as well. I believe exposing children to the opposite sex against their will is child sex abuse. We expect all to be protected in our school. It is all of our jobs to support our youth. Allowing transgenders, males and females into locker rooms and bathrooms is wrong. Give them a private space. I agree. Make them feel safe, but not at the cost of others' emotional safety, physical safety, and spiritual choices. I pray God gives you the courage and strength to stand up for what is right. The perversion that is about to be released with allowing opposite sex to enter the opposite sex restrooms and changing rooms, you can never take back. It is perverted and wrong. Please stand for what is right. And to add to that, Oregon is committing to pushing and retraining teachers on gender issues rather than educating our children. In December, the Oregon Department of Ed was reportedly set to spend $2 million on a campaign seeking to launch a pro-LGBTQ plus curriculum, pride events, and teacher training. When our kids in our state are behind in academics, Oregon test scores plummet far worse than most places in the nation. Yet very few schools districts have a plan to catch kids up on reading, writing, and math. It's a scientific fact that there are only two genders. God created male and female. When are we going to wake up and stand up against this destruction of our kids?
Director Ferragino.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and welcome the staff back and the students for after the winter break. I hope everyone had a chance to enjoy time with family and re-energize. Second, I want to address our community regarding different opinions and how we treat each other. It is never acceptable to threaten with violence. It's also not okay to try to get people fired from their job because they sit on a different political spectrum than you. I have received anonymous threatening phone calls, and I have had former employer contacted requesting investigations against me. Many in our community who claim civility need to be civil too. Third, and lastly, I was aware that a mandatory training for teachers was to take place on January 3rd. And one of the topics demanded by the Oregon Department of Education was related to equity training. I was not prepared to see a content so disconnected from what I know that the majority of Newburgh-Dundee parents want to be the focus of their children's education in school. Let me assure you that as a school board member, I will continue to advocate for equity in treatment of all people who deserve respect, but also protection of students' innocence and an increase in the effort of leaving adult topics out of school and to protect parents' rights over control of what their minor children are exposed to when they are sent to Newburgh Public Schools.
Director Cole.
I'll keep my comments brief because we've had so much, I've heard so many people, your eloquence and your enthusiasm, and from my fellow directors. I just want to say that I also felt the outrage, the frustration that you're all feeling with these trainings. And one of the things that really stood out is that nowhere did it encourage open, balanced discussions, to say the least, nor did it model respect for differing beliefs. And I'm hopeful that in practice, our fine teachers, and we have many really good teachers, will encourage tolerance for differing perspectives, and they will especially listen to and respect the viewpoints of our parents, because the parents are the most important people in the kids' lives.
All right, thanks, fellow board members. Tough one to start with for me this week. A couple nights ago, found out that Jeremy Quimby passed away. Jeremy Quimby was 38 years old, 2004 graduate of Newburgh High School. I coached Jeremy from the time he was a little boy in baseball, all through basketball and tennis at the high school. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And so to the Quimby family, to Lori and Larry, and to the Allens, who were big educators in our town, it's a real tough one. Jeremy was a athlete of the year at Newburgh High School in 2004. Went on to Oregon State University and was a fireman. And he leaves behind 3 young kids. And so when we talk about some of this stuff here tonight, as tough as some of the subjects are, my wife always reminds me, after she went through breast cancer, she said, we're guaranteed today. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so, sorry to start off with a heavy one there, but my second one is I love, as a coach, sitting in the 5th row, because there's no pressure on me to watch Moira play basketball. And Coach Luke's a friend of mine. He's doing a great job. And Trevor's exchange students on the team too. And it's just so fun. Moya would be the kind of player I'd like to coach because she plays hard, and it's super fun to watch you play. So I'm expecting that in lacrosse from both of you guys. And I don't know anything about lacrosse. You're gonna have to help me on that one. I think moving forward, it's like what Trevor's saying, we need to move back towards education. We've had a couple of years of all this political COVID stuff, everything, it's been hard. My big passion is reading. Trevor, thanks for going out there and reading. I want to jump in that. We've had a lot of public people want to come out and help with the reading program. And I think if we all helped the teachers, I've talked to a lot of teachers, and they would love our help if we just do it through Dr. Phillips and through the principals to the teachers as they need us. We can go in and really help these kids, and not just the little ones too. We're behind on our reading all the way through K through 12. And a lot of times in the past, when I worked there, sitting down with kids was the best way, and they love it, when you're reading with them, just like our own kids, when they're little, you read with them, it makes it easier. And so that's what I want to start focusing on more than all the political stuff that goes on. And I know that's Dr. Phillips's dream. He was the right guy to hire, and he's taken us down the right path to get back to the education path. However, all the political stuff plays out. I know it's frustrating, it's tough. The training was tough. We've had enough said about it, so I'll leave it at that. But Dr. Phillips and Scott are working hard for our district to work with our union, our teachers. It's not always easy in Oregon, but transparency will be the word of the future. So thank you, everybody coming on that. But I'm not forgetting tonight, Director or Superintendent Phillips gets to make the last comment.
All right, thank you. Got three things I wanted to cover. The first one is this Thursday, the 12th, at the high school auditorium. We are doing a safety symposium specifically about fentanyl abuse. And obviously it's a big problem in our community. We are going to have Newburgh Dundee Police Department there. They're going to be talking about some of the local statistics, and it's shocking when you find out that it is in our town. So I would encourage everybody to attend that. That's from 7 to 8. Prior to that, at 5:30 to 7, we're going to have the health center open if anybody wants to come and have a tour of the health center and see what's going on there. So Providence has been part of this symposium, and of course, Newburgh Public Schools, and then the police department. So I'd encourage everybody to come out for that. Once again, it's this Thursday, the 12th, 5:30 to 7 at the health center, and then from 7 to 8-ish at the high school auditorium. Next thing is I got a letter in the mail dated December 15th from Northwest Christian Church. And I just wanted to read a piece of it. It says, Dr. Phillips, I wanted to express my thanks and appreciation to your willingness in helping with the fall school serve day. I'll be honest, I didn't do much. But Northwest Christian Church completed projects at all 10 campuses of the Newburgh School District. We had 80 volunteers that were spread out among all the schools. And then here are the projects that they went through. And he lists all 10 schools and what they did for those schools. As you can see, the projects are mostly outside activities. Hopefully more schools will want us inside the schools in the future. I am thankful for the partnership between the Newburgh School District and Northwest Christian Church, Newburgh campus. I think you have an amazing group of administrators that truly want to serve their students and families. My best wishes as you continue to lead Newburgh School District. Sincerely, David Sanders. So I just want to be public about that. That's awesome. 80 adults working in our schools, volunteering. They brought the equipment, they brought the paint, they brought the bark chips, they do it all, and they're wonderful. So I wanted to thank them for that. Last thing is a little bit of the elephant in the room. I wanted to, I sent a letter out to the staff and to the community or the parents on last Friday, and I just wanted read a couple pieces of that letter. I said my purpose. So I shared the slides from the presentation that took place on Tuesday, and then this letter came out a few days later. So I said my purpose in sharing the slides from this training was to be fully transparent with you, the parents, and the community. We view our relationship with you as a vital partnership in the educating of our youth. We cannot have a healthy relationship without trust, and we cannot have trust without transparency. I really believe that. I interviewed on that. I want to honor that. I think moms and dads need to know what's going on. So I wanted to talk about that real quick. I went on and said, the district recognized that parents, guardians are in charge of their children's health and well-being. We strive to honor the relationship you have with them. There is no district policy that states we are to withhold information pertaining to your child for any reason, unless parental notification would put the student in danger. Other than that, there's no policy about withholding information. Lastly, there was a statement in the PowerPoint about fusing LGBTQ to SI+A+ curriculum into our existing curriculum. As the superintendent of Newburgh Public Schools, I want to assure you that our curriculum is geared towards providing all students a rigorous state-approved education. There are no plans to alter our curriculum beyond the normal curriculum review cycle. Curriculum is usually reviewed every 6-7 years. Next year, we'll be doing math, possibly world language, and some more curriculums will come as more subjects will come as follows. Lastly, I believe all people deserve our respect and our kindness. We don't have to agree. I say this to people I'm kind of close to that they get it. I think I love my wife. We don't agree on everything, right? It's okay. It's okay not to agree. It's not okay to be mean. Be kind. And I think we can do that. We can do that together. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Appreciate that. Future agenda items are principal presentations coming up on January 24th. That will be a work session. You'll really like that. The principals do a great job and you'll learn a lot about what's in their schools. It's good for them to get up and kind of show off their schools. NHS fees and new course material from the leadership at Newburgh High School, probably Principal Iron will do that. And then transportation will also be on that docket there. Is that to continue and thing to talk about. And then, so remember again, January 24th at 7 p.m. will be a work session. So that's our next board meeting. And then a regular session will be on the 14th February coming up. That'll be the next regular session coming up. We really do appreciate so many people being involved one way or another, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you so much for being polite tonight, listening. Thank you to our student reps. Give them a big round of applause, everybody. They're like 17 and you're not, so it's pretty tough to get up there and do what they do. They're doing a great job. So thank you to the board for being here tonight. And with that said,
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, I would like to request to add to the future agenda items, a discussion of a parental bill of rights.
Director Shannon, are you talking about the 14th or the 24th?
Our next meeting.
Okay. That added. That said, this is amazing. It's 8:16 and we are going to adjourn. We're done.